Hi everyone, my name is Jessie Zink, and I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Northmont City Schools. I'm here to talk to you today about how we use a Google extension called Autocrat to facilitate in a pretty efficient way our written education plans and communication about those plans throughout the school year. Uh, So, as I said, my name is Jessie Zink. I work for Northmont City Schools. I am the Associate Director of Curriculum and Instruction at Northmont City Schools. That title includes coordination of gifted services, in addition to several of the other roles, which is one of the reasons why it was really important to us to find a pretty efficient process to handle some of our paperwork, because everyone in our district is doing many tasks and wears many different hats, and so becoming efficient and utilizing tools to make us as efficient as possible is super important for us within our district. So a little bit of background about Northmont City Schools. Northmont stands for Northern Montgomery County. So we have a compilation of several municipalities that attend our school district. We have roughly 4,700 students, obviously fluctuates a little bit day to day, and approximately 550 gifted students served in grades 3 through 12. A little side note on that, all of our students in grades 3 through 8 are served by a gifted intervention specialist. So our gifted intervention specialists have pretty large caseloads. Another reason why making the WEP process efficient is important, because they have a lot of students to work with. And again, reducing that sort of logistic administrative side of tasks, frees them up to do more with their students. Um, we use pretty simple technology in this process. So Google Suite, and then Autocrat, which is a Google extension. And that's all you really need, and just kind of the know-how of how to set things up, which I'm going to walk you through in this presentation. So I will just say one thing before I kind of show you the finished products. We have access in our district to both Data Map and Same Goal, which are both Data Map's progress book product. Same Goal, I think many of you might be familiar with. They are both products that you can use to write WPs. It's been 15 years or so, but when I was in another district as a gifted intervention specialist, there was a different product that I used. And what we have found with all of those is that while they produce a great finished product, they require a lot of individual paperwork. And we just haven't found that they have given us the ability to really, as I said, our goal is to free up as much time of our gifted intervention specialists to be working directly with their students. So our process creates a couple of things. The first is a written education plan. This is a written education plan from 2022-2023 for our elementary gifted reading service. Obviously, I've blocked out all the student information, but you'll see it includes the building, the school year, the area of identification, the goal, the specific program requirements, and the student progress measure. This document is created in about 1 second, and I will go through and show you how that works. Likewise, in about another, I don't know, hour, we also are able to create this document. This is our final evaluation form, which is sent home to families with report cards at the end of the school year. So same student, same goal, same school year. It repeats the goal, and then it has a teacher narrative about how the student's progress toward that goal. And so again, obviously there's time and effort put into the teacher producing that narrative, but outside of that, creating this paperwork, once again, 1 second. So let me walk you through kind of how we get there. So you need, in order to set this up, you need three things. You need a Google Doc template. You need a Google Sheet that is, and we get that Google Sheet from a Google form. So to give you an overview of our process, we create a Google form that our students fill out to select WEP goals at the beginning of the school year. So at the beginning of the school year, the students fill out a Google form. It says, what's my name? What's my student ID? What building do I attend? What am I gifted in? Which is a great conversation sometimes because we have students who are maybe don't remember what area they're gifted in, or are gifted in multiple areas. And there's a discussion with the teacher about how their service setting meets that specific area of giftedness. And then the students select a goal and talk about how they're going to meet that goal, and how we will measure their progress. That Google form populates into this Google Sheet. So you can see, this is again, all the information is blocked out. This is again our green, our gifted reading elementary service. So I have this Google Sheet where all of the gifted learners have filled in their last name, first name, student ID, what school am I at, what grade am I in, what am I gifted in, what's a reading goal, and all of those things. So this is a critical component of our process. And we have found, point of efficiency number one, that having the students complete this Google form, and having the teacher as facilitator, discussing with the students what would be a good goal, having the students, however, fill all that information in, really a great time saver, and also maximizes that student ownership piece of their goal. After you have that Google Sheet, the other thing you need is a Google Doc template. So this is a template that each written education plan is going to look like. This is what tells Autocrat, the extension of Autocrat, what information to put where. So this template is simply a Google Doc. You'll notice I have the headers that I want on there. And then I have the information and where Autocrat is going to get that information from. So in this case, student, and then you see the brackets, and then you see words, what is your first name, and then other brackets. These words are column headers. So on this spreadsheet, what is your first name is a column. So when Autocrat runs, it looks at the information that is in that column and populates it right here. And then I have, obviously, what is your last name? So it will populate that column. What is your student ID? So it populate that column. So in the end, what you end up with is something that looks like this, where the information is the actual student specific information, but you have to start with a template, and each thing in the brackets are your column headers that you want it to pull information out of. So this is another critical component of Autocrat. And all you're doing is taking whatever column header it is and making sure it has two brackets on either side, and then also making sure, like I know I needed a space in between these two words, so I have to put a space on my template. Everything else I'm keeping, like wherever I put these brackets, that's where information will populate. So it's the template tells Autocrat where to put the individual student information. So I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on Autocrat. There are a couple of things we'll go back to after I kind of show you how to set up Autocrat. So you set up Autocrat. I said you need a template, and I said you need a spreadsheet. Your spreadsheet, in our case, is populated from a Google form. But you always start with the spreadsheet when you're trying to set up an Autocrat job. So you're going to go up to this extensions, and you're going to select Autocrat. Now you have to go in and add Autocrat as an extension that's available to you. I believe you do that through, you can probably just Google it. So if you were to just go over here and say add Autocrat to Google, you can go to Autocrat Google Workspace, and then I have it already installed, but if you did not, then you would install it. So once it's installed, it's up here in your extensions menu. And so you're going to go to Autocrat, and you're going to go to Open. I already have a job created, but I'm going to create a new job so you can see what that looks like. So I'm going to go to here to New Job, and then I'm going to give the job a name. This name doesn't matter at all. This is the name that will appear in your Autocrat menu. So it's just a name for you. You can call it whatever you want. You're going to hit next. Here is where you link in your template. So my template was called Green Wet Form Layout. So I'm going to go to From Drive. If you have your template open, if you've have recent activity on your template, it will pop up as one of these options that you can see easily. If not, you can search for the name, but if you have it open and have recent activity on it, it's a lot easier because you can find it almost automatically. So right now what it is doing, it is linking. So then I'm going to go to next. A couple of things about this page right here. So what it is showing you is this is what I had on my template in brackets, and this is the column that is going to pull information out of. This is the tab. So if for some reason you had a spreadsheet that you were trying to run Autocrat on, and you had multiple tabs on that spreadsheet, you would need to make sure that you had the correct tab selected up here. And I only know this because I use this process to send home results from individual student testings from referral. I have templates that produce a parent report for all of our different testing, and I have different tabs by year. If I have the wrong year selected, then my Autocrat job runs on that tab, not on the tab that I'm trying to run it on. A couple of things here. It's just saying if you for some reason had more than one header row, you would need to adjust that. And you also need to tell it where's the first row that there's data. It defaults to one header row, and then the first data row is in row 2. So this is what you had in your template. You just need to make sure this is the actual column. So if, for example, this is another kind of important thing. Let's say in your template, you wrote, what is your first name, but you left off the question mark. So it doesn't exactly match to the column header. It won't auto-populate what column it's mapping to. It'll have like a thing, and it'll say, what column do you want it to map to? That's totally fine. You just go in and select the column, but just know that mine's really nice and neat. Like it filled in all of these columns automatically. That's because what was in my template was an exact replica of the column headers themselves. It doesn't have to be. In other ways that I use Autocrat, sometimes I don't have these say the exact column header, and I still can map it. I just have to do it manually. So once all of my tags are mapped, then I go over here. This is the file name. So this is the name that the file is going to be called in your Google Drive, because that's where ultimately this file is going to go. So how I name this kind of depends on how I'm going to create the document. So I have two options down here. Multiple output mode means that each row is going to be a separate Google Doc in my Google Drive. So I will have a separate Google Doc for all 125 gifted students' WPs. If that is the case, I probably want to actually put a tag in here and call it, I'm going to go back and look. What is your last name? That way, if I'm making each of these rows a separate Google Drive, that means or separate Google Doc, that means that each of the documents will say the student's last name, 2223 WP. So in my case, it would say Zink 2223 WP. It would be in my Google Drive. And then if I was trying to find Jesse Zink's WEP from 2223, I would be able to have search for that specific name and get to that specific document. The flip side of that is that if you are running a lot of WPs and then you are the ones responsible for printing them all, you would have to print them all individually. Which I can assure you is not something, as the person who is responsible for printing, that is not something I am interested in. So what I do instead in big jobs like this, and again, when I use Autocrat for something different, I do it differently, is I say 22, 23 green WPs, and then I select single output mode. So single output mode means it is going to create one Google Doc, and each of the rows will be a new page on that Google Doc. That enables me to print one time. The important thing to do if you're doing it this way is have it sorted, have the spreadsheet sorted however you want the documents organized. So if you want them organized alphabetically, have it sorted alphabetically. If you wanted them sorted alphabetically by building, that's how I have to do it, then have it sorted alphabetically by building, and then you're able to go in, print the documents, and they're already in the order that you need them to be in. The next thing, and another crucial thing for you organization enthusiasts out there, is where you are telling it to put them in your Google Drive. Particularly if you are making each one of these an individual document, I have learned the hard way that if I'm not very careful and intentional about where I tell it to go, all of a sudden my main Google Drive is flooded with hundreds of individual student documents that I then have to clean up and put somewhere. So you are able, what I do is create a special folder. As you can see, this one's old, but WPs 17, 18, and then all of those documents go directly into that folder, and they're not scattered about willy-nilly within your drive. Other people totally don't care about the organization of their Google Drive and really navigate Drive by search. And so if you don't care, you can have it go just directly into your main drive. I tend to like a nice folder. You can see here that if I have the wrong folder, I can just delete it and then choose another one. This dynamic folder reference, I will tell you, I've literally never used it. So I would not worry about this. I just always click through it. Merge condition, I don't use it for this, but it is useful in some cases. So let's say, for instance, I only wanted it to run this document if there was data. So if I only wanted it to run for if there was data in this column, that, like, maybe you have a document where you have a WP template for kids who are gifted in reading and a different WP template for kids who are gifted in math. And so in the one column, if it says reading, you want it to run. If it doesn't say anything, you don't want it to run. You can type anything that you want in here. So not null obviously means there's something typed in here. If you typed reading in here, then it would only run if the column said reading. So you can add them. I do use merge conditions, but I don't, in this case of WP creation, I do not use merge conditions. So this is another useful feature that I could offer an advanced session on. Share docs and send emails. So this is something we have started doing with our WPs. It requires a little bit more back-end logistics. So there is a way for you to say yes and share this document. I typically share as PDF with email addresses. So I just want to point out back here, if you have selected single output mode, you cannot share with individual documents with individual people. However, if you selected multiple output modes, so you're going back to a single document per row, we do this. I then can say, take that WEP. I don't really care about the collaborators resharing. I don't want it to send from a generic no reply address because in this case, I'm emailing it to families. And if they have a question, I want them to be able to email me. What you need in order to accomplish this is all of the family emails as a part of this spreadsheet. So this is where I said I could probably offer another in-depth user, advanced user per PD on this. So we can pull our family emails out of Progress Book. They're attached to a student ID, and we use a spreadsheet command called VLOOKUP to move the family email addresses onto this spreadsheet that I have created. When we do that, it allows us to share the WEP electronically, which we do with families the week before conferences, so that families have had a chance to see the WEP, even though we do still print them for families to sign when they attend conferences in the fall. So again, not needed for this process. That's just sort of a layer that we've added. And if you're comfortable with VLOOKUP and able to pull all of that email address information out of your student information system, it is a nice layer in terms of family engagement. Down here, I can obviously create an email, and that's what the family receives, and the document is an attachment. But you do not need to do that. Triggers are another thing that's great. I always set it up because our GISs, they have a day where they're like, okay, we're all going to do WPs, and, like that's a thing that's going to happen. But then inevitably 5 kids are absent on that day. And so if you set this up to run on a trigger, basically it will auto generate the document as the form is being filled out. If it's on a form trigger, then like each time the form fills out, it will rerun Autocrat and recreate a document. I don't like to do that in this case because I don't run them, at least initially, as individual documents. So what I do is instead put it on a time trigger. So I just basically say once every 24 hours, run Autocrat. And then as GISs are helping absent students to fill out their WPs, every night it is going to auto capture any that new ones that have been added and send those out. So once I've gone through this, I'm saving this job. I'm actually not going to save this job. I'm going to go back here and show you this is a job I already had in there. You can do a couple of things once you've saved the job. You can press play, which essentially runs the job. So it's going to start doing whatever it is you told it to do. I like this little eyeball here because I like to preview the job details. So when I preview the job details, then it generates one document for the first row and allows me to review what it will look like. if I've set it up to go to an email address, it also will send that email that it would have sent to the family to me, so I can preview what the email is going to look like also. This little button is edit, so many times after I hit preview, I then have to go back and hit edit and adjust something based on an error that I've seen in the way the job runs. Um, another great thing about um, another great thing about this process, and I'm going to go backwards to this sample sheet, is that once you have run Autocrat, you'll see the link here. So on your spreadsheet is a link to the WEP that you created or document that you created. So you always know where to find them, even if you've lost them in your Google Drive. So for the 23-24 WEPs for gifted reading, we can go right here as a link to every single one of them. So we have easy access to going back to finding those WEPs if, for instance, a student loses it or a family wants to review it or whatever the instance may be. So I appreciate that, just because anything that keeps me a little bit more organized is always welcome. So a couple of things, just tips. I mentioned that single output if you're preparing to print. If you wanted to email, you can do multiple output. What I end up doing is creating two jobs, one that is single output so I can print them easily, and another job that's multiple output. All the same settings, multiple output, so it goes to families. And then we talked about the bracketing to pull information from columns. I wanted to show you another thing that we do. So when we are at the end of the year, when GISs have to do reflections, which I think is a pretty time-consuming process for GISs to give individual feedback to students specifically about their progress toward their WEP goal. I make a copy of this spreadsheet so that the teachers have a spreadsheet that has all of their students and all of their goals. And then I make a column that says reflection. And so the teachers are able to just go right through their spreadsheet and type their feedback, which is the fastest way they possibly can. And then we run Autocrat again with this template. And this one is only set up to email. So at the end of the school year, once we've done once teachers have typed their final reflections, I run Autocrat again, and it automatically emails the families their final feedback for their WP form. And in that case, I'm going to give you guys way more information than you want. If I'm going back to Autocrat, I can show you one thing that I do that is very useful in that particular instance. So if I go all the way here to if I'm sharing and sending emails, if I say reply to, in this case, I type the teacher's email in this reply to box, not my email. That way, if there's a question about the final reflection of the WP goal, when the family hits reply, it goes to the teacher, because they're far more likely to be able to answer a question than I am about their input on WP goal. So that was, if you can't tell, I absolutely love Autocrat, and it has made our lives a lot easier. Like I said, really, students fill out that Google form, and then it's a pretty simple process for me to get all of the WPs generated to families, to teachers, with just a couple of clicks of a button, particularly since we already have all of this set up and are just recreating it from year to year. I'm happy to talk about this. Here's my email address. And if you have further questions, or if this presentation was way too geeky and techy and you would like me to slow down or speed up and tell you some more advanced things, I'd be happy to do that. As I said, within my role as Director of Curriculum Instruction, I use this Autocrat as in pretty much every facet of my job. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and attention.